guys, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, my name is Jerry Schaefer. I'm the director of the Eastern Rim Funny Book and Vintage Con and co-director of NerdCon. I'm also a teacher in the area, teach English. Some of you have been seeing me all day long, so welcome back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here at the Pop Culture panel, basically dealing with these indelible voices from the G.I. Joe cartoon. And let me say this, honestly, G.I. Joe, actually I mean to say Cobra, because right now we have all the baddies here with us. So we have Destro, also known as Arthur Burghardt. We have Zartan, also known as Zack Hoffman. And last and yet never ever least, the Baroness, or Morgan Lofting. Please everybody give them a wonderful round of applause. All right, so to begin with, to explain, we're going to have questions. They're going to be all calls for everybody, and then a little bit later we're going to have some questions that are for specific folks here on the panel. Towards the end of this, we're going to have crowd participation, have you ask some questions. So what will happen is if we have a runner, we'll have somebody run a mic out there to you, or you can come and grab it and, you know, ask a question and have a good time. So, like, once again, let's go ahead and get started and have a terrific time with these wonderful actors, these actors here who have come to see us here in Houston. All right, so this first question is an all call for everybody. So, folks, what actual life experiences led to the performances that you did in G.I. Joe in terms of your specific characters? Let's go ahead and start off with Maureen.
Well, I was in Eastern Europe, darling, thank you. In Eastern Europe, I was, undercover, and what are you talking about? How in the world would I have had any experiences other than the fact that improv, okay, they give you a piece of paper that says you're from Eastern Europe, and they give you a sketch that says this is what she looks like, and you go out in the parking lot, and you are as loud as you think you might want to be, but you try not to be near other actors while you're being loud, because you don't want them to steal what you're going to do. And then you go into the studio and you just act like a nut. I don't, you find some accent that you think kind of works. And I think that what really landed me the gig is that I yelled, Cobra, and I would love it if we could do that before we all leave tonight. I will not do it on mic, though, because that would not be nice for everybody's ears.
All right, let's go ahead on to the next person. Go ahead, Zach.
Well,
Yeah.
am I on here? Oh, yeah. Hey, good to see everybody. And I guess I would just say this, that I was the guy in high school that did all the impressions. I actually I didn't really do impressions of celebrities. I did my impression of Frank Gorshin doing impressions of celebrities. So, I would do John Wayne, and just on and on and on. And so, this leads you into the path of comedy. It leads you into the path of working your voice. And then one day, I walked into a room with all the guys from high school that did all the impressions. That's what it was for me. And then when you start to become an actor, you go from making impressions to creating a character. And how do you create a character? And where do you draw from in literature? And where do you draw from in your own personal life? Because that's what you bring to a character. And so, and then I was lucky. I was working in LA doing improvision with the LA Connection. And I was doing Bride of the Monster, which is an Ed Wood film, and we were dubbing the soundtrack in. We made it into a James Bond movie. I was Bond, James Bond. And like, it's Ed Wood. You've seen the Ed. Anyway, I was Bond, and so I was telling this story to Wally Burr, and Wally said, "Well, we're looking for this character. Come on in and audition." And that was it. And I got to Zartan.
All right, Arthur. Can you turn this mic on?
What was your question?
Oh, what life experiences led you to your performance in G.I. Joe?
Drinking and driving.
Gotcha. Truth at the panel. All right, let's go to this next question then.
I haven't answered your question.
Oh, okay.
Oh, except I was going to add that the other thing great about being an actor, even though you don't have to do it for voiceover, is I always feel like I'm dressing up. Like when you were a kid. It's like, oh, who shall I be today? Shall I put on the little reading glasses and the Peter Pan collar and the Perry Como sweater and be somebody's grandma? Okay.
That was really good. Well, I could start off with my kid brother and me. I had kids. Andy Devine. Oh, you're not old enough to remember that. I'm the oldest panel member up here. Yeah. And that means a great deal, actually. Was the question what led us to being on the show?
What life experiences influenced your performance?
Okay, I did hear that. I'm sorry. I never really wanted to do it, really. Although I loved what Mel Blanc did as a child, my brother and I both. And then, of course, there was the mimicry, you know. I like making Wally Burr very jealous, especially when we had love scenes, you know, me and
Oh.
yeah.
It wasn't me.
Definitely not you. You know, so I did the unprecedented thing of moving over to her microphone and grabbing her from behind. Of course, I didn't grab her from behind. I would have been slapped, but I did put my arm, I asked her, and I put my arm around her. Didn't I do that word? I think I did. And we had a nice scene, a moment there. And it was just the most natural thing in the world. Of course, that was the Cobra Commander. It was the moment when Cobra Commander came in and found us. You know, there's something in her eye. No, there's nothing in her eye. You know, idiot, you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. You know, she's my wife. At any rate.
Never, darling, never.
Well, I meant, did we? Were we? You did Baroness and we never got married? Oh, I thought we did. I think, in fact, I called you my bride.
In your dreams, Simon, in your dreams.
But we were kissing, you know, for a moment there. I don't know what that was all.
What was that great line? Destro, darling,
Yes.
I hear bells.
Well, I had a lot of fun. There were moments when I didn't, but I had a lot of fun with everybody here. It was meant to be fun, but after a while, I suppose that we were, I was beginning to wonder what was happening with the world and so much militarization and going on. I was one half of my life was playing a Joe and a patriot, and the other half was playing a terrorist, right? Okay? I mean, I was two master sergeants on one side and a terrorist on another. And so I was a schizophrenic. Don't ask me what. I don't know what brought me to this, but it was nice doing something on television that was purely struck with the imagination, and it was fun to do in an ensemble performance.
All right, guys. So actors often love playing villains because, you know, there is so much depth to who they are in terms of the soul of a miscreant, more complexity, you know, a palette to play with that is maybe more than just the black and white of the good guy. So did you find that this to be true in terms of your experience in playing your villains, your characters?
Say that again, will you?
Absolutely. So playing a villain seems to be more complex, and there seems to be more to it than just playing the good guy where there's a one note. So did you find this to be true in your acting of Destro?
Chris and I, what I didn't know was that Chris was really moving things in a sub rosa fashion along, because he was close to the formation of the cartoon series. I don't know how, but he was. And we wanted more complexity because we thought the children would understand that. Because we certainly did, watching Rocky Horror Show and other shows, and listening to adults. You look, be careful what you're saying around your babies, because they're understanding what you're talking about, usually. And we wanted more complexity with, since we were, you know, there were two-dimensional flat surfaces, you know, for the reel of the backgrounds going on. And sometimes the scripts were badly written, but we somehow, he made sure that we got some damn good writing. First of all, because we wanted people to know that the two villains were classically trained, you know, in terms of the English language, I guess, and engineering, you know, all these things, you know, well-trained bad guys. What I liked about Destro was that I could do a lot of things with him, but which left me with a lot of questions. And I think it was the questions that mattered, because I couldn't solve the questions, but we could ask them. You know, I mean, why would somebody as brilliantly trained in engineering turn to mayhem? You know, and I had to answer that somehow inside. I'm not going to answer it now because that'd be a bore. But, you know, there were things that we could ask ourselves, why are we doing this? And then revel in it and not be able to provide the answers. Allow your imaginations to provide the answers, I suppose. Am I right?
Zach?
Well, I think that for me, a villain gets to do the things that you only think about. So it's very delicious, you know, when you're doing it. And it's just that, it's the flip of that switch, you know. I thought playing a villain is always fun. It's always fun because they have no filter. And in the regular world, not always, but people have filters, and so a villain is usually the unfiltered essence of evil.
Morgan?
Yeah. Oh, I like that. Yeah, no filter. Yes. So what an actor wants to do is use their imagination, and we want to improv. Now you couldn't really do that with a script. You had to stick to the script. because there was only so much time and they had to animate to the sound and to the dialogue. But in our minds, you want to improv, which is kind of, I guess, what we probably all did when we auditioned. We played around, you add a laugh, you add a wrinkle, and I think it's easier with villains because most of us think that, well, maybe actors don't, but I think most of us think that nice people are just nice. And after a while, they're just boring, you know. But yeah, there's no filter. Zach's absolutely right.
So let me ask you this quickly, Morgan. In
Yes.
terms of the Baroness, was that the original character that you went for, or did you go for a slew of other characters as well?
No, because I was in the original cast, and they just called people in for like the 6 or 7 characters. So I have no idea who else I was up against, and I didn't read for anybody else. What I loved about the Baroness was that I would start out just as a regular person, if you remember, and I was somebody that you would trust. I was Major Hooper, perhaps, you know, and then, and that was kind of fun, yeah.
So, Zach, about yourself in terms of, you said that Zartan was the one you went for, right? Or did you go for any other voices besides his before
No,
that?
it was Zartan. It was just Zartan.
Okay, so in the process of doing it, how did you sort of construct that voice that you do? I always like classical characters, so I thought of my brain's stick on, Arthur. My brain is on. The Merry Wives of Windsor, and I can't think of the name of the character, but
Falstaff?
yes, Falstaff.
Right.
And so I had Falstaff as sort of a source. I know he liked the James Bond, but I read one of my favorite books was A Clockwork Orange by Arthur C. Clarke, and I read the opening and sort of got Alex's voice, you know, in there, and I sort of like blended it all together because I thought that Alex was a great character for Zartan because he also, you know, Alex had dreadnoughts too. Didn't call him that, but
His droogs.
his boys, and so that's sort of how I did it, and that's what I went in with.
Arthur, please delight us with your.
Well, I had a couple of things.
Okay.
And then I've lost them. They're very fleeting. They came to me and then I lost them. Chris, I know Chris did, because he encouraged me to do that, was supply lines to the writers. And we did that. We did that in rehearsal. Yeah. There were moments when we did that and changed it. And I'm kind of glad that we did, because I told him outright, you know, he's just not like that demon-esque kind of crap you see all the time. You know, it's not just that. I'll do that, but he has more to him intellectually. He could be a failed student or a failed son, perhaps, you know, and all that good psychometric stuff that we put to demonesque characters and stuff, but it really doesn't explain what he does every day. Okay? I mean, he's got these things that he also does every day. For example, another thing, he has honor. Destro had honor. I mean, he did not, I made sure they understood that he wasn't for bacteriological warfare because he was a cheval, he was a knight. No. He loved Scotland. He didn't like the English. He liked the Welsh and the Irish because they against the English, whatever. You know, he did not like Cobra Commander because Cobra Commander was a selfish little sibling shit. Oh my God, he did not. I didn't like Wally because I thought that Wally was a selfish little sibling shit too. But I liked him as a human being. You know, he was all right. Wally was all right. But I just, you know, we had our moments because he wanted to change things that were already set, and I wouldn't do it. And that's that. And the reason why was because I felt that there was, we needed, we wouldn't, that's what I was thinking. If the scenes were flat and two-dimensional, the characters could not be. Because the children or the older folks who enjoyed these guys would see through it right away. What ho, we're gonna go into that room and get them. Excuse me? Do you see what I'm saying? It's just, that's not, it's not as fully rounded as we thought it should be. The heroic characters would take the stage heroically, and you know, I took him to be Agamemnon. Agamemnon in classical Greek literature was Menelaus' brother.
And gets killed by his wife.
on that,
Right, exactly, yeah, right.
on that note, Morgan, I have a question.
Shoot, now I forgot what I was gonna say. What do you guys got up here that I can't remember? I know. I would invite you to do one thing as far as the soundtracks go, because the visuals are fairly static considering they're 40 years old anyway. Just listen to the soundtrack. And the soundtrack, the voices, our voices, and the music, and the special effects drive that show. And just listen to it. It almost could be, I think, a podcast. It's just driven.
So let me ask you this question, Morgan.
Sure.
Okay. Did you find yourself, was it interesting finding yourself being a role model of sorts for girls who watched the program, especially because you were such a strong, powerful, and resilient presence on the show?
Well, you have to understand that the show was not made for girls.
Indeed.
Count the number of women that were in the show. Let me see. There was, yeah, okay. The writer, it's the 80s. The writers had no idea what to do with women that didn't have boyfriends. I mean, they were like really kind of, anyhow.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So it wasn't until the 90s that I remember I was doing some sort of industrial or something, and then I was talking to the assistant AD, and I said, and I did the voiceover for the Baroness and G.I. Joe, and there was this pause.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I realized that this thing's alive, maybe more alive than it ever had been. So I didn't have little girls when the show was made coming up. I mean, we didn't have that kind of a climate. How were they going to find me? There was no online yet. There were no Comic Cons. Now I have women who saw the show in the 90s when it was rerun, who come up and go, yeah, glad to meet you. And I'm like, yeah, thank you, finally.
All right, this next one is for Zack. Let me ask you this question. Zartan is a master of disguise, and I know you had to make him shifty in the way your thought process worked, the way you constructed him. Do you ever find, maybe sometimes on very few occasions, his thought process working into your head, or maybe his voice or something like that every once in a while? Because I'm assuming that Morgan probably has something like that occur every once in a while as well.
I guess. I wish I could say yes, you know, yeah, I live Zartan and, you know, but we're actors and we're on to the next. And so we finish this and then it's done, you know, and then I went, you know, I did the show, and I mean, I was doing other things at the time, but the next big thing I did was I went on the road with He-Man, She-Ra, and the Masters of the Universe, and I did the Power Tour. And I was, you know, we did arenas and Radio City Music Hall, and, you know, and so I'm a live stage actor in a 50-pound neoprene suit being a superhero. It was wild, right? And that was that next thing that I brought to it, and then on and on and on the life of an actor until, for me, I just couldn't reinvent myself anymore, you know. But here I am with you, and yes, I'm reliving Zartan with you guys, and it's absolutely wonderful, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for that.
All right, this next one is for Arthur. You already started talking about this a second ago in terms of Destro's core. So whenever you were performing Destro, how long did it take you to reach that understanding of who he was on the inside, his reason for being? Was it something that grew, or was it something that was already there immediately?
Mostly immediately. There were some things that grew later on, but I knew almost instantly what I was going to do. I don't know why. People hated me for that. You know, I walk into auditions and I know what to do. You know, I usually got the job. I don't know why, but again, something that Zack said that I agree with totally, and now it escapes me that I was going to tell you. And what Gerhard Morgan also said was quite correct. One of the things that moved us wasn't the gifts that we had, it was the gifts we were given as classically trained professionals who were literate. Literate. First thing that they told me, when you want to be an actor, do you read every day? How much do you read? Oh, interesting. Isn't that interesting? How much do you read? All acting is reacting. All acting is listening. Really? It's not standing out there and throwing your chest out. You know? What's going on here is a question that I have to ask. What's going on here? And you know, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it because I thought it would be a fluky, and I'll throw a voice out there. And then the more I did it, the more I looked at it, something could be done with this. But I don't think that they have the guts or the wisdom to employ something like what I'm going to provide for them, right? And of course I met Chris, and they were already concerned that I would give them, they wanted more. I didn't know this at the time. And I gave them some more, and it just grew upon us to be able to do what I did. I don't know how else to explain that. No. But to do what I did, I was more interested in getting drunk, actually. And Chris was, banging up to make sure I had plenty of booze. It wasn't that bad at first, but it became that bad. And Chris realized that, of course, and he saw that. And I don't know why I'm saying that, except that was something that I had to work on. But, and it gave me an incentive for understanding certain things about the will to power, which is kind of addictive. Because here these grown men, right, there were no women. She's right, and Chris and I wanted more women. They would modify what we were doing as characters. And they had great ideas too. You're noticing that the men were always doing the strategizing and the ideas. Chris and I wanted to see more, and they gave him actually a little bit more. He was a behind-the-scenes producer. A lot of people don't know this, but he was. He was helping guiding the production to what it became, and I saw that. And it emboldened me to provide lines that I wanted to do. They would say, well, try, do what you want to do with it. Or, you impudent Oscar to say that. Yes. Okay, all right. The guy's got a nuclear chemical accident in his throat. Yeah, that's it. Okay, all right. He's white, he's Scottish. Yeah, good. You're not afraid of that? It was another thing that I thought that they might be afraid of. Was there's a black man doing Scottish accent. Actually, there was a little. People were saying stuff like that. Behind the scenes. So Rosa, Arthur is black. He's not Scottish. What are you doing here? The Scots loved it. Here, they didn't care. I had this little thing of. Did you hear this? If you're Scottish, you understand this. Around the rugged rock, the rugged rascaloo.
I have no idea what you just said.
Around the rugged rock, the ragged rascal ran.
Yeah.
Yes, but what that is, it's not real Celtic like. It's not. It's Scots English. It's the kind of stuff that they do for the tourists who come there. What are you not to know Scotland? It's in Scotland. What are you talking about Scotland? Destro would talk like that. But he would do that for the uninitiated. Now, so we had these other things. So yeah, Zach had, Morgan had, BJ had, even Duke had built these backstories to which we could repair when nothing else was working. When we had nothing else to see in the script, we had our own backstories propelling us. Do you understand that? Literacy is terribly important. So you can construct something to give to them, or else we'll just have shit, and they'll cancel the show. We'll just be shit. We'll cancel the show. I went to Bernard, a quick story, I'm sorry. I'm not taking over, I'm sure. Bernard, Chevy Chase's, Bernard Brillstein.
Oh, Bernie Brillstein.
Bernie Brillstein gave me a chance, right? I was doing this show, I was introducing Burra Fawcett Majors and her husband to one another in a series called Good Sports. And I died getting a brain aneurysm. We were sports newscasters in ESPN type network. And I died falling across her lap from a brain aneurysm. And I went to Bernard Brillstein, who's the producer of CBS. And I said, would you please listen to I have an idea to propel the series. You're going to bring all these would-be actors who are people like what's his name? The act Charles Barkley wants to act, and Will Chamberlain, and a whole bunch of guys want to act and stuff, right? Some of the women too. I said, instead of doing that, you're gonna push these two together as a comedy. Why don't you bring back Stu, my character, as Cosmo Topper? And he said, you've got 45 seconds to thrill me. I walked away, figured out how we were going to do this, to make my pitch. And I went in there with the great comedy writer who loved it. Bernard Brillstein looked at me and said, thrill me or be fired. Damned if I didn't do it. At the end of my 45 seconds, he looked at him, what's his name? You'll know in a second. Great comedy writer. And he looked back at me and said, "You got another 15 minutes." And for 30 minutes, I outlined what the show would be, with the ghost of Stu helping Farrah Fawcett get with her. Okay, so that's how we did this. It's how Hollywood really works, actually. You know, and CBS canceled.
All right, so let's do one last really quick thing, just a couple of seconds to do it for each person, because I think it's going to be...
sorry.
No, you're great, you're great. And so then we can go on to the questions for the audience. Okay, so in your best voice of your character...
Oh, no.
No, just for a second,
You're not paying enough.
I'll give you a handshake later. Could you do a quick rendition of your thoughts on Cobra Commander? Like how you really feel.
Everybody tries to do Cobra Commander, but after a while, we can't breathe anymore.
Very nice.
I am the Cobra Commander.
Oh no, I'm Zartan. I'm sorry.
What's up? There you go. Arthur, if you want to play, you can, but you don't have to.
You're an impudent ass for asking me to do this. If I get on.
All right, guys, give them a round of applause for that. Where else are you going to get Cobra Commander all of the other days? All right, so do me a favor. Who wants to go first for the questions? Can I borrow one of your microphones, please? Yeah. So, would you mind passing it out? Anybody want to ask questions? Raise your hands, and this gentleman will come around and pass you the mic. All right.
There it is.
Not a question. I just want to thank y'all for what y'all did. He wore out, of course, but I started buying a few G.I. Joe toys for this 5-year-old here, and then I got the DVD, and when I was that age, his age, when y'all show was new, I remember the Transformers would like come on in the morning, and then y'all would come on like right after, and that was right when the dadgum bus would pull up to the house. And so I might have seen 5, 6, 7 G.I. Joe episodes. I put them in and we watched them together, and I was just like, this is amazing. I was just like, and the three of y'all, Baroness and Zartan and Destro, I love your vocabulary. I let my son hear your vocabulary. You know, it's just, that's how he's going to become a smart guy one day. Just love it.
What bus?
School bus.
The school bus.
You said Saturday morning, though.
Oh no, I don't. I was playing outside Saturday morning, like it was fish or die with Dad, which was a good thing, But that just maybe that's all I can remember. It's all coming back to me. But I'm 46 almost. But like I said, me and him watched the shows together, and I thought, well, they're just gonna blow stuff up, and it's like for a 5 or 6 year old, and I enjoy every episode. We are at the point of Springfield. That's our next 2 to watch. You want the other 2 or 3 days? Oh, come in. I said, no, we got to watch both of them together. But we just do 1 or 2 episodes every day or 2, until we get off. Then we'll binge watch 3, 4, 5, But just very enjoyable. I'm so glad y'all put so much effort into those episodes and into your work, because it's just. As a 45-year-old, I just saw the one where they were on the yacht, and Baroness and Baroness was getting jealous, and then we just watched the episode where Destro went to the Scottish deal, and they conned Lady J into going to the, and Destro's family was having the big meeting and at the Scottish manor, and I never thought as a 46-year-old I would enjoy seeing those shows new again just so much. So thank y'all so very much.
Who's next?
Wait a minute. I just want to tell you something. We hope that we're doing something, and very shortly. I've been talking to some guys from Hasbro about some stuff. We would like to do something.
Nice.
Okay, really something very strong.
I gotta say, I love you two. I love Destro. It's just, you and competent, you
Well,
can poop.
well-
I love the vocabulary and the
We're trying to do
energy.
something. We're trying to do something, and it's grounded in modern physics too, in a way that you'll understand it. Okay? I don't want to give away. It's a great idea, and my friends up here will have a lot to do with it. Okay? So we're seeing. I've been talking to some executives about it, and I've been telling them we're going to do it this way, or we're not going to do it at all. I think that they're rather like that. You know? They're like that. Maybe.
All right, let's go ahead and go to the next question. Go ahead.
When I found out how many, I was in high school while the show was airing on the afternoons, and when I found out how many kids in high school, seniors even, went home to watch it, the geeks, the stoners, the preppy kids, just, it made me wonder, because of the people of that age watching it, what's the weirdest question you've ever been asked? Because the parents influenced a lot of guys.
So I'll just tell you, so that when I meet the fans and they go, how come you never did a public service announcement? And I thought, what would Zartan tell kids, right? Hey kids, let's play with matches. They're fun. And burn down the house. You know,
Right. Do we have another question? Anybody else have a question out there?
The one I was asked was, "Are you gay?"
So obviously a lot of us love the. I'll turn it off. Okay. So obviously a lot of us love the Sunbow cartoon. So what happened when they went over to why did they bring over the y'all's voice actors over to the new show?
What? They didn't tell you. One was made in Canada.
Yeah, all the shows were recorded in Canada. And at that point, Canada was
Larry.
new in the voiceover game. So there weren't a lot of actors that were able to do everything. And so Chris Latta and I actually still recorded our characters in Hollywood.
So I want to really quick point, guys. Everybody look behind. There's Larry Hama right there, literally the creator of all these guys right here. Give him a round of applause.
Larry Hama.
So we have room for one more question. Who wants to ask it? Anybody at all? Anybody at all? Are we good? Are you sure? All right. On that note, guys, please give a super loud round of applause to these amazing actors. Oh yeah, we gotta yell Cobra.
Sure, you're the boss.
No, not on the mic.
I can't.
One,
Hold on. Let me get it.
One,
Let me record it.
two,
All right, sorry. Here we go. Go.
one.
All right, guys, thank you so much for being out here. See you tomorrow.